Okay, we are live. Hey guys, it's
There we go.
Friday. You can tell. Happy Friday. It's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. I'm excited to have Coach Joe Hos on the show with us today. And we got to give a shout out to our mutual friends, Stacie and Bruno, for the intro. Love you guys. Appreciate you. We're going to talk about restoring athletes daily, sports rehab. It's going to be great. And he's going to inform us, and he's got a great accent and funny. So welcome to the show, Coach Joe. How you doing today?
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate it. Doing well. Doing real well.
Oh, guess who just popped on? Our buddy that we just were talking
about.
Oh,
there he is. There, Bruno, that a boy. He's always supporting me. I love that guy. Love him.
He's a great guy.
And
always supporting.
And Stacie, yep.
All right. So I told you before we went live, they love origin story. People want to know kind of how you got to where you're at. And then we can take a deep dive into what you do. So give us the 411, my friend.
Gotcha. All right. So I guess the long of it is that back in 7th grade, and I'm always saying this because now I have Bruno on there, but back in 7th grade, we took a career test, and my career test turned out to be kind of like pathology, almost sports medicine like. And so once I got out of high school, I went into the Navy and I became a corpsman and a medic.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And so when I got out, it kind of just, I wanted to go into physical education. And then I realized I didn't really want to be a teacher, but right. At the end of the day, now that I kind of look back, that's what I do every day. I teach.
You are a teacher, really.
Yes. Teaching is coaching. Coaching is teaching. Yes. So, but yeah, it became a passion of mine to just continue to help people, coming out of the Navy and doing that. And then I thought about going into the nursing field. And I felt like when I came out, I had a lot of experience from being basically a nursing assistant in the Navy. And then when I came out, they wanted me to kind of start the whole process over. And I kind of was turned off by that. So I decided to go a different route. And like I said, I went into physical education, realized that wasn't really what I wanted to do. And I wanted to get more involved into the sports itself. So I got involved in doing a lot more of the personal training. And then it turned into more sports performance training. And so now here I am as a post-PT sports rehab specialist 21 years later.
Woo. You look young.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
Very young. All the healthy eating and healthy living you're doing.
I try to.
That's why I'm actually only 25 and I look like this because I don't do any of that stuff.
I forget. I forget how old I am. I'd say my boys keep getting older. I stay the same. I'm like Benjamin Button.
You just don't go backwards, my friend.
Yeah, right. Stay right where I'm at. Right.
All right. So let's talk. I think you are. I agree. Coaching is educating, and you're an educator just in a different platform. So let's talk about sports rehab. I think a lot of people, when they hear rehab, your brain can go to a million different directions. If you're a drinker, I know where your brain goes, or drugs and alcohol. But this is really something completely different. So talk about the process of sports rehab, all of the different things that you mentioned earlier, and what you do in a day. Because I think people get confused. Well, how can you work on rehab all day? And what's really restoring an athlete? How does that all work in the performance end of it as well?
Gotcha. Yeah, so basically what my job is once they're done in physical therapy is to continue that path with them. Because of the background that I had and the interest that I had as far as the physical therapy end of things, I really kind of started doing a lot of my training that way. So then that restoring of them really, it stays in the path line with physical therapy. And so I kind of meet them where they are, right? Coming out of physical therapy to continue on that path to restore them. But to be quite honest, once they come out of physical therapy, if physical therapy is doing their job, they're kind of already restored. And then my job from there is to continue to improve the mobility, their performance, and then kind of get them back on that field again. Now, with that said, I do a lot of, working with active adults as well, but my main field is really the ACL return to play for the high school, college athlete.
And there's more, the physical part, I think we all understand. You mentioned PT earlier, physical therapy, or got the rehab, but there's a whole mental side of it that goes with the performance part too. Talk a little bit about that.
You know, that's interesting that you brought that up, because it was something that I had empathy for, going, you know, obviously with the kids and things like that, and having children of my own. But about 2.5 years ago, I tore my meniscus.
Ouch.
And so the pain of just going to the refrigerator and not being able to do just the normal things, and then the recovery. And, you know, of course, I'm 3 weeks in, and I'm saying to my physical therapist, well, when the hell am I going to get better? You know, like, and he's like, you know, well, now you know. And so the process was long. You know, even though it was only a meniscus and it's not as traumatic as some of these ACL surgeries and things, I really had a better understanding. So I think the irony there is now I have a much better understanding of how to get these kids back there, but also the empathy and understanding the mental toughness that you have to have, because there are ups and downs. There's going to be days where, you know, you feel like you're going backwards, and the mental toughness piece, which I just had a discussion with my younger son, who's still playing soccer. And he wants to continue to try to, you know, move forward with it. And I said, well, you just have to remember that injuries come with sport, and you have to have the mental toughness to be able to push through that and not just give up at that point, you know? So I feel like I can see that with these kids. I can feel that because I'm a parent on top of this. So I think that gives me a really big advantage over maybe other coaches that just don't, you know, my kids are older too. So I've really been able to go through the whole experience of being a teenager, you know. But I raised two boys.
Because it's the brain. It becomes a challenge. You're not in the same physical shape at that moment. You can't do the things that you've worked probably your whole life to get to. And then all of a sudden,
your mind wants to get you there, but physically your body's just not doing it. And that becomes very frustrating, because you can see yourself doing it. And then when you can't do it, you start, you know, so what I tell them is we got to really chunk it down, because a lot of, you know, just using the ACL as a typical example, I'll see these kids come in at like 14, 15 weeks, and they want to know when they can play again.
Yeah.
Well, we're about 9 months from really having, or at least 7 months from having that conversation. So to really try to explain that to them, I'd rather really chunk it down and say, hey, let's just focus on the next, you know, 2 to 3, 4 weeks. And then let's kind of see where we're at from there, you know. So
because the little chunks of progress usually are easy to swallow. You're working on a goal, you feel accomplished once you've hit one milestone, and you're ready for the next. But I know I have a lot of friends who have torn pretty much everything, broken everything, and their biggest thing is they want it faster than it's coming physically. And then that becomes a frustration, and that becomes a whole nother mindset change that you have to have. You have to really refocus and not let that take over. I'm sure you see that with your clients.
And you know what I do see is, you know, I work with such a broad spectrum of athletes. Some of the kids just want to get back to being able to play again. Then I have the higher level athlete that wants to go pro, or a pro athlete that I have that wants to, you know, obviously return even better than they were before. So there's different levels of how you want to return. And then the mental toughness, you know, obviously gets a little bit, it's got to be a little bit thicker.
Well, yeah, I feel like, and then we've got a question from Bruno. I feel like there's also probably a all right, Coach Joe says you're ready, and you feel ready, and you're physically ready. And I'm sure there's a little bit of a hesitancy when they really get into it again. I would imagine like, oh crap, I have to not let the fear of being hurt again, because I know what that looks like and feels like when I'm getting back in. So in order to go full force, they have to let all that go. They can't have that in their heads. And I'm guessing that. I know that from coaching people on the mental side of things. I would imagine it's similar on the physical side.
Yeah, so that's actually a question that I bring up a lot to the athletes as they come in, and I ask them certain questions, whether they're confident, you know, because part of this is obviously building the confidence back to be able to do that. As we get to the point where they're going to start to maybe receive some contact and have gotten the approval from the surgeon to move forward, I will start to ask them questions like, for instance, soccer. If you and I were to go 50-50 on a ball, do you feel comfortable with that leg, me and you banging on a ball really hard? And I kind of look at their face and their body language and see, if it's a kind of like, not, then they're really not ready, and there are actual tests. There's a cognitive test that they'll take in physical therapy that I could probably use for my athletes as well. And it's like 20 questions, and you just go through, and it'll really tell you mentally where this athlete stands as far as return to play.
Correct. It's like they say, get back on the saddle. It sounds good, but it's not as easy as people think. All right, Bruno asked, Coach, what about children getting stronger to help prevent injuries?
Well, listen, more now than ever, because this is a really big question, but the reason why a lot of these kids are getting hurt as much as they are, and again, this isn't going to make us sound really old, Bruno, but when we were younger, we broke bones, right? We fell out of trees. We got hit by cars, there were bones that were breaking. None of my friends that I can remember ever tore a ligament, ACL, maybe an ankle sprain, a hamstring strain, but not to the point of what we're seeing now. And there's a surgeon down in Alabama, Dr. James Andrews, and he wrote an article about early specialization. And the fact of the matter is, we're probably not going to go away from that, right? These kids, when they're young, you look good, you're a basketball player. You look good, you're a soccer player. So these kids are now professional athletes at a young age that are not getting paid like these athletes are. But when you look at these high-level athletes and what they're doing for their body and helping prevent these injuries. So now these young kids have to take a season off or find a way to incorporate year-round how they're going to help reduce the fact of getting hurt. Injuries happen, but non-contact injuries shouldn't be happening at the level that they're happening at. And it's frankly due to the part that they're not strength training, but yet they want to be that 3 or 4 season, soccer player, but they're not finding any time to get into the weight room. And if they are, it might not be, for a consistent amount of time. You really have to find windows. You have to look at it as a 52-week cycle and try to figure out when you're going to be the busiest in your season and when you're not. And that's when you're going to focus more on the strength and less on it, during the times that you're busier, but you don't neglect it.
Yes.
And hopefully that will help start to reduce the injuries.
Stacie, Stacie's got a question for you, about a follow-up question on what you just said. Thinking about the kids, so I'm thinking of a kid, an athlete who has to go through this, has to mentally prepare. How important is it for the parents to be on board and understand the not only severity but the length of time? I would imagine, just like in any kind of activity where the parents are behind the pushing and encouraging, that you would probably run into parents that are like, isn't he ready yet? Isn't she ready yet? Tell us a little bit about that.
It really goes both ways. I've seen it from one end of the spectrum to completely the opposite end. Yes, the crazy parent still is out there that wants to get their kid back and live their life through their kid. Let's be honest. And then there's other ones that are, I meet them at the initial evaluation and I talk to them maybe 2 or 3 times during the process. And then at the end, they thank me and the kids go on their way, and I don't really, have any issues with that. But it becomes a whole conversation, quite honestly. Once I'm done work and I'm in the car, it's 2 or 3 conversations with parents, talking them off the ledge. Billy's fine, but the process, you have to understand, the process. And so I probably could do a better job of explaining it during the evaluation, but I feel like I do. I think that just because it's such a long process that sometimes they forget but I always warn them, because typically I'll see them come in around 3 to 4 months, and I'll say around 7 or 8 months, you're going to start breaking my stones about when can he play, or the kid will start asking, well, when do you think I can start doing, go back to my practices? And the truth is that with these injuries, again, we're just staying with an ACL injury, the length of that healing is very long. So they have to understand that even though they feel better, that the ligament and everything around there is still healing. It's feeling better, but there are still certain things that we're not supposed to be doing and taxing that yet, and continuing to build back the strength. I'm dealing with a lot of 85% of my business is 13 to 21-year-old female soccer players. Okay. So chances are most of them haven't really strength trained before an injury. So, and then, this becomes like a whole new thing to them. But, so I guess that's a long answer.
No, that was a good answer, because I feel like parents can either be an incredible ally for you, an advocate, or they can be a complete pain in the butt. Mainly because I've seen
I've seen both ways. I've seen both sides.
All right, so Stacie asked the question, which will take us out. Coach, where are your training facilities? And I'll just add to that, how can people find you? They want to learn more about your program. They want to do more with you. What's the easiest way, Coach?
Gotcha. So the easiest way right now, if you want to find access to everything, is sportsrehabpa.com. It has everything on there, from online stuff to how you could have access to me in person, one-on-one private training sessions. We're working on doing some group stuff. I have some things coming in December. Right now, my training location is in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, in Warminster. And hopefully soon there'll be another location down in Southwest Florida. I've made some connections, and I'm working on that. So hopefully that will be the second spot. This is the first time I'm actually talking about it live. People who know me know that this is something that I want to do. I love where I'm at, and I love what I'm doing where I'm at. And I just want to be able to take this same model concept and take it down to Southwest Florida.
All right, with where the weather is beautiful.
Ask a lot warmer. Yeah, it's getting a little chilly up here.
Yeah, we've got a little chill here in Florida too. I think it's 78 or 81.
Yes, thanks a lot for rubbing it in, Ted. Appreciate it.
All right, man, you're a joy. You guys reach out to Coach Hos. He's just as awesome and as accessible as he is on this broadcast. You go to sportsrehabpa.com, or you can reach out to me. And of course, we've got him tagged in the broadcast, so you can reach out to him directly. Thanks to Bruno and Stacie, and thanks to you very much. I loved it. I was wanting to talk about this because I have a lot of friends who have kids in sports. Mine are much older now, and I'm always amazed. The injuries, that was a great question. It feels like there's a lot more, but the parents for sure can make a big difference in
absolutely
how successful that is, because that is a lot on a kid to have to deal with. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Coach. I appreciate it.
Ted, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. You can also, I did forget, you can also, if you go to Instagram, Coach_Hos, Hos, you can see a lot of the stuff that I'm doing on there with the athletes. So again, I appreciate your time and thank you.
I'm excited. And I have to say, before we head out, I love your sign in the back. Hacienda. Very good.
Oh, the Hacienda. Yes.
That was good. I was paying attention to that. All right. Thanks, Coach Joe Hos. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Take care, Ted. Thank you.